Hi YouTube, it's Graxy. Welcome back to the channel. Hero Siege Season 8 begins on September 12th, and with that, I'm going through all of my build guides from Season 7 and updating them for the new patch. In today's video, I'm going to be checking out my starter and progression guide for the Multishot Marksman. This is going to cover everything you need to know to get from the early game as well as League start this character. So that way you can start finding items, progressing through the game so you can get to mid game and eventually the end game. So be sure you hit that subscribe button, keep up to date with all future Hero Siege related news, content, and build guides. Let's get started. First things first, I apologize for all the fishing. We're doing this live on Twitch. I'm running out of time here. So the boys are fishing while I'm making some guides. This also was made during the closed and open beta phases of Season 8. So some of the content and mechanics that were available at that time have been changed just a little bit, as well as during Season 8's closed beta, we didn't have access to a spawner. So this is really just going to be based on previous season's build trends, as well as me going in the in-game journal and just theory crafting. We are currently working on updating all of the guides still by just literally going in the journal and checking everything and getting things updated and ready. So yeah, if you're not familiar with Multishot, here's what it looks like. We basically just shoot out a bunch of arrows in front of us in an arc. They will hit enemies and then branch out into big circles, right? Super easy to play, very comfy build to play. We also do have the ability to ricochet arrows around, right? So that will help us with additional clear speed. It's just a very comfortable build. Very simple. If you're familiar with D2, you've ever played like D2 Amazon, so very much resembles that. Very much resembles that. Now, what's changed for it in Season 8? Quite a lot, actually. So Multishot did get its total amount of projectiles nerfed. It went from 5 to 4 per point, as well as the damage synergy went from 12.5% to 10%. So a slight nerf on Multishot and its augment. However, Trick Shot, which is what we use for single target, did get a fairly big damage scaling buff. As well as one of its nodes that we use also got a fairly decent buff on it. So overall, I think Trick Shot's going to be better for single target than it's ever been. I'm not sure that this is going to be enough to make it your primary single target ability. Just based on based on the previous numbers that we had for it, it got nerfed really hard because it was doing too much. I went from doing like 200 million single target to doing like 2. It was really bad. And this is really the only buff that it's gotten from that number. So I don't really know if that's going to be enough to push it into like crazy amounts of single target compared to just using the option that we have here, which is Volatile Shot. I think Volatile Shot's shotgunning will end up being the better play. So we do have both of those options available in the sub-skill trees. It's free to respec your skill trees at any time, so definitely try both. However, this whole guide is going to be based off of you going Volatile Shot for your single target. If Trick Shot ends up being a good option, sweet. All right. So how do we level the character? Basically, we're going to be playing as an arcane caster from levels 1 through 100, right? It's honestly just the easier way to play the character. Multishot doesn't feel the best early on, in my opinion, and Trick Shot is kind of rough as well, as you just don't really have a whole lot of clear with it, a lot of coverage, versus Frag Grenade has a ton of shrapnel, a ton of coverage. You can shotgun them. So I personally recommend that you level as Frag Grenade all the way up to level 100 until you can start getting some decent items to be able to switch into Multishot. Completely up to you. If you want to go Multishot the whole way, that's your decision. At level 40, we do get our first augment. This is also round when we'll swap into Gunner Drone. It's actually level 30 was when I like to switch into Gunner Drone. This is going to just absolutely blast all the way to level 100 for the most part. You are going to struggle a little bit when you first get the Nightmare, so just keep in mind with that. But putting the augment on will definitely help a ton with Gunner Drone. Sub skill trees were a new feature back in Season 5. These are basically these check marks or these plus signs next to each skill. You just open these up and you get an additional sub skill tree. This will help you specialize your skill a bit more. So I do have every single sub skill tree available in the guide, so you know exactly which ones to take, right, with screenshots of everything. Now for attributes, you are going to be putting 2 points intelligence, 2 points of vitality while you're leveling up as an arcane caster, while you're leveling up with a frag grenade. Get enough energy to feel comfortable. If you don't have a ton of mana or mana sustained, it's going to make the caster feel really bad. So be sure you're looking out for things like mana charms, mana on kill, energy charms, stuff like that will really help. And then once you switch into Multishot later on, you're going to put 2 points strength, 2 points vitality is the general rule of thumb. If you want to get more damage, go all strength. If you don't feel like you're tanky enough, you can go all vitality, however you want to work that out. As well as you might not have enough attack rating to where you're missing a lot. You can put some points in dexterity to help with your attack rating, but ideally you want to try and find a decent weapon that will help with this issue of not having a good hit rating, and just finding some items in general that will help you with being able to hit monsters. And then once you get to the end game, of course, you're going to be putting all of your points into strength just to get the most amount of damage. For gearing, this section here, it just has a bunch of different workable suggestions for whatever phase of the game that you're currently in. So if you're leveling, right, pre-multi-shot, I have just different affixes that you'll want to look for on items. Generally speaking, if you're playing an arcane caster, you're looking for arcane skills, all skills, arcane skill damage, magic skill damage, your typical caster type affixes. So I just kind of showcase all of those on different items, as well as if you scroll down, you'll see there are some rune word options that you could go for as well. That will help your time, help you level up a bit faster. So definitely check those out. It's not needed. You can get all the way through level 1 through 100 on just rare and mythic items. There's also going to be some satanics that you are going to drop while you're leveling. I don't suggest that you stop and farm for any particular satanic, just because it's very RNG and it's a waste of your time. However, you will find some that are going to help while you level up. So by all means, use those. When it comes to gems, there are amethyst, if I can type, amethyst gems, right? These are going to give you some arcane skill damage, right? This will really help with the frag grenades skill damage, as it is basically like base damage to the skill. So definitely be looking out for those. It's these same values that are listed here. It's just arcane instead of physical. And obviously, once you get into level 100 and higher, you're in multi-shot. You want to switch into diamonds. This will also give you damage for your physical skill, right? So very important to be looking out for gems. You can also upgrade your gems. So you can start with chips, and as you get up higher and higher, you get way more amounts. So keep that in mind. Once you hit level 100, again, I do have some different options here. There's no best in slot gear at this point. It's just really going to be different combinations of items that you can put together to help yourself get through basically Hell 1 of the game, so you can unlock satanic zones. So that's what this section is for. Rare tier and higher weapons have gotten a buff with their enhanced damage. So you're going to be able to find like rares and mythics that have way more attack damage and way more ED on them in general. So definitely be looking out for those, as they can help with that Hell 1 progression. But I do have some different rune word options. Wind Stride's really nice. You get 75 all res on a Wind Stride. Can really help you with rounding out your resistances early on. That could be a good option. I also really like the RTX, as you get a ton of ignore target defense. This is going to be really helpful for being able to hit monsters. So this is another good option. And just going through here, you can see there are a ton of different satanics and rune word options. Again, you can put any combination of these together for the most part to get through Hell 1, so you can unlock those satanic zones to start farming this progression gear, which is the next thing that we're getting into. Right? So that you can push through the game. So once again, tons of different items that are available in the progression section. I personally prefer going things like Monsoon to get Ricochet. This will help with your clear a ton. However, in order to get a lot of single target on a character like this, it's really going to depend on your weapon, right? The better your weapon is, the more damage you will have, the easier time that you will have. So keep that in mind. Now, there are shadow items, and these will give you a ton of attack damage, as well as you can get this O skill here that basically makes it so that you can no longer crit, but you do a ton of increased physical damage. These can come from Reaper, but they're much harder to get in Season 8 than they were in Season 7. They buffed the Reaper to have way more life as well. Some of his skills work a little bit different. So keep that in mind. The Reaper weapon is very, very strong. It can catapult you through the hell difficulties, but it is much harder to get now than it's ever been. So yeah, going through here, you'll just see a bunch of rune words and heroics. There's target farming available in the game now, right? So you can go to specific zones in the game and try and target farm out some of these items to help you progress through getting up to Hell 5 or even Inferno. Star leveling is back. If you're not familiar with star leveling, be sure you check out this YouTube video. I talk all about how star leveling works, what you need, where you get the stuff from, all that sort of stuff. And another big part of the build is Molten Paw. This you can put on your back bar. It's a way that you can get a source of burning in the build. You can apply the burning ailment to monsters, which will allow you to get things like extra damage to burning monsters, which is a very, very strong way of scaling your damage. And then last but not least, we took all of the Inferno items and we put them in their own section, just because Inferno is a much harder difficulty now than it's ever been. And some of these bosses are just not something that you're gonna you're gonna see as early on as we did in season 7. So this is gonna showcase all of those Inferno items and something that you might want for your build that you can aspire to go and try and farm out, right? Or maybe buy on the auction house if you're having a hard time. For relics, we have a ton of crit relics. This will be a crit build. I think crit is going to be the best way to play the build. You can go the non-crit version for quite a long time, but eventually you're going to want to find a way to scale your damage up even more. And we're going to do that through crit. So here's the typical crit relics that most physical builds use. And then we have some extras. You can unlock a 5th relic slot by completing the Fall of Darkness quest. This is killing Amon-Ra and Uber Gabriel. So you can get a 5th relic. Again, any of these options in here will be totally fine if you want to go for more damage or additional life. There's some proc effects you can get, like you can get demon form, or maybe you don't want to wear crush fleets anymore that have that agility proc. You'd rather have that on a relic and then wear a different pair of boots. There's some different things that you can move around based on that 5th relic slot. For potions, they haven't really changed a whole lot in Season 8. That's going to be the same ones we're used to. Right, so you can give a look-see in the different potion options. Any of these that you find while you're playing through are able to pick up for cheap, right? Can super help the build. For chest augments, Berserker Rage is most likely still the highest damage, but it does come at a cost of decreasing your all res. Personally, I like Lethal Tempo. This is going to give you a flat amount of increased attack speed, even just on the very first augment. I think it's going to give you the most upfront attack speed, which I really like. And then it also will scale your crit damage. So once you move into the crit version, this I think will be the most comfortable option. But you could also go Tempest Strike to get the most amount of attack speed if you would like to. And then Mercenaries have also been reworked quite significantly for Season 8. There's some different combos that I saw in the open beta with them. I'm not going to talk about any of those in this guide. I think it's going to be up to the players to experiment with the mercs. So I have all of the mercs available in this sheet here, so you can check out what skill trees that I would recommend that you go with, or depending on which merc that you prefer. I think for this build, you're most likely going to go the Archer merc if you want to get the most amount of damage, just because you can get a proc here that gives you a ton of attack speed, or you can go the Knight merc if you want the most amount of magic find. Magic find on mercs is super important. Not enough people gear out their mercs. I personally gear out my merc before I really gear my own character a lot of the times. So mercs can also get boots, belts, and gloves in the new season. Again, just being able to stack even more magic find on them. So you'll see that the gear options that I have in here are very magic find centric, very magic find focused. So if you want to go a different option, totally up to you, but this is what I recommend most players do, as it will help you to propel through the early game and be able to target farm some of the items so that you can push through and progress your character. For hero levels, they're pretty much the same. If you aren't familiar with hero levels, go check out this video. I have a ton of information, different ways that you can build your hero level tree. For the most part, it's the same for most physical builds, so we'll be doing the same thing that we did before. There are some nodes in the top here that were super reworked, right? They got like way more values. So definitely check out some of these at the top here, but for the rest of it, it's pretty much the same. Glyphs also didn't receive very many changes at all in Season 8. There might be a couple of value shifts there. If you're not familiar with glyphs, go check this video out. Glyphs are very important to helping you, tailor your farming experience to specific things that you're doing in the game. So definitely check that out. Last but not least, we do have loot filters. I will have loot filters available for importing on season start. I did get access to the closed beta, so I'm going to be able to go in there and create all the filters for all of the builds, for every archetype, for everything. Worst case scenario, I do have a link to a doc that has literally all of them available, and you can go build them out yourself. But I will have links that you can just import as well. Hopefully those will work for the new season. And yeah, also, if you're not familiar with the loot filter changes at all coming into Season 8, I do have a whole video explaining how everything works for the filter, from, all the affixes to how do you select certain tiers to how to import, all that sort of stuff will be in there. And last but not least, we have additional resources. If you are a brand new player, you just need some additional information on specific things, I do have an entire helpful resources section available on the website and in every one of my guides so that you can get that information you need. Yeah, that's going to be it for the Multishot Marksman in Season 8. I think it's going to be a super strong build. It's going to be stronger than it was in Season 7. Just with some of the new items that we have available going into the new season, it's going to be kind of crazy. So if you like that whole just run and gun, just right-click and win sort of play style, I think this one's going to be very... Also, if you play controller. I actually never play controller, and I did this in Season 6, I think. I played on controller. Very smooth, super comfortable. Controller gets this auto aim thing going on with it. Very fun. Yeah, come check us out live at twitch.tv/Graxy_TV. Hope to see you guys there. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.